late 1800s controversy over money supply. You have to know that because that's going to be in the form of modified true-false. So there's no like crutch. You have to know really have to know your stuff on economics. Also related to that, I would study a little bit of Karl Marx and Adam Smith. Make sure you know the main ideas of each of them.
What was Adam Smith again?
He was the Wealth of Nations laissez-faire guy, invisible hand. And I would study how it sort of has, I would study your Omaha platform and have the main ideas known pretty well. And in general, know like how the populists affect politics afterward, how third parties generally affect politics afterward. And then the last thing is I would know how you'd apply all that to modern times. Even though both Democrats and Republicans believe in regulated capitalism, what are the differences? How does a Republican believe in helping the economy? How does a Democrat believe in helping the economy? So I would... What?
Like generalizing it, like Republicans want to help the rich or...
Well, they each would say they'd want to help the middle class, but they have completely different ways of going about it. So I would definitely make sure you know that as well. Yes?
You have to know how they would, like, how it would have been then or now?
Now. How? Eve.
Wait, do you mean like we have to know again the trickle down theory and like direct theory?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it sort of has all come down to today, yes. Trickle down economics, that doesn't ring a bell with you?
That's Republican.
Yes.
Thanks, Jeff.
But Republicans don't cut taxes on the very rich because they say they're helping the very rich. Who are they supposedly helping when you cut taxes on the very rich? The middle class, because, Kevin,
all the money trickles down.
and Democrats don't tax the rich more because they hate rich people. What are they supposedly doing when they tax the rich more? Katie? Oh, that wasn't you raising your hand. Eve? They're having more money to put into things that middle class people tend to like. Mass transit, education, roads, school systems, etc. Boring things that sometimes help middle class people, yes. So the result is they have a completely different view that you could trace back to Smith and Marx and all this economic theory. Okay, the rest of it I don't think is that hard, but things you would need to know. The number one primary source that's almost a guarantee for both of you is the Cross of Gold speech. And along with that would come the election of 1896.
Election of 19 what?
1896. And then the rest of this is all in the 50-50 category at most, but things I would study because it's a reasonable chance. That cartoon of the robber barons with their shadows in the background saying no to like the new immigrants. And from there, you should be able to talk about the main ideas of the Gilded Age, including like the laissez-faire economic system and how that allowed monopolies, the political corruption, Turner's frontier thesis. So you want to sort of know the main ideas. I would know the main difference between old comers and newcomers. Period 3 seemed to really struggle with that today, so you might want to review that with quite a bit of depth. Yes?
Were the Irish newcomers?
I don't think it would get that. You know, I know the difference between like a WASP and a Russian Jew and that kind of thing. I would know your little civil Reconstruction packet from the end of Reconstruction, especially readings 1, 2, 3, and 4, not the intro reading on the front and not reading 5, but you saw some pretty basic readings, and I think every group in both classes was able to circle what the main or crucial paragraph or 2 paragraphs were. I would say that there was some pretty good progressive primary sources, including The Jungle, a section from Lincoln Steffens, and a cartoon if I wanted to go cartoon crazy and give one group the immigrant cartoon, the Thomas Nast cartoon. And then remember, even though it's not within this time period, I waited to do it till I gave back the papers. the Declaration of Sentiments is very much eligible for this primary sources quiz, even though it's from the Reform Movement's era, because it's important, and we didn't do it until I gave back the papers. It was, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal.
And then you had the balls, yeah. And it was the jungle, the cartoon, and it was
Lincoln Steffens, he wrote about political corruption. Yes?
Remember when we did that chart with all the presidents?
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be that mean. I think that next Monday, you're gonna have to know your difference between your Harrison and your Cleveland and your McKinley and so on. You know, that would be much more I could even have one of those like, 1 if it applies to Garfield, 2 if it applies to Arthur, 3 Cleveland, 4 Harrison, or 5 McKinley. Yeah. But don't worry, if I have 5 questions, 1 will go to each. Nah, I won't do that. Okay, other questions? Nicole, a complaint? Other questions? Yes.
So it goes from like the carpetbagger poem to the.
I don't think the Carpetbagger poem will be on there. I don't think the Conquered Banner poem will be on there.
Or Smithy?
I don't think the Smithy will be on there. I think there was relative importance to these.
Better than the free silver and
But the
gold.
Smithy was.
Yeah, okay, but the thing is that the positives is I'm only giving you like the big stuff for a pretty dry era. So instead of blacksmith poetry or songs, it's William Jennings Bryan, Thomas Nast, Upton Sinclair, Lincoln Steffens. But the negative is it's pretty dry, and you haven't had echo yet. You have to know that money stuff. You have to know the money stuff. If you have to know 2 things, it's the money stuff and the election of 1896. You have to know those 2 things, inside and outside, upside down, inside out, etc. The rumbling in the mines, I don't think so.
Please pardon the interruption.
That kind of thing.
Graduation meeting going on right now. Right by Mr. Rizzoto's, the guy in the conference room. Please come down immediately. Thank you.
Questions? Yo. If you were absent, that's going to be really hard. But basically, it wasn't gold versus silver standard. It was gold versus gold and silver standard. And the gold and silver standard bimetallism, get it, 2 metals, is more backing for your money, which means more money in the money supply, which means inflation. Inflation means the money is worth less. And the people who want that are the people who owe money, like farmers. That's why William Jennings Bryan was a hero of farmers, because he didn't want to be crucified on a cross of gold. He wanted gold and silver. People who are owed money, like bankers, they want that money they're owed to be worth more, so they want less money in the money supply, so they want a gold standard only. I'm correct, Harry, about that. That's good. I'm relieved, because that's an important idea. So if I was teaching it wrong, that would really suck.
Is bankers deflation?
I guess deflation ideally, or at least not too much inflation, relatively steady prices. Yes,
I have a quick nerdy question.
yes.
When the Federal Reserve Act went into action, did they do any? Like, I have a note from like the 40s or something, right? And it says so you can be redeemable in silver. So when in 1913, when the Fed was created, did they use gold and silver?
I believe they just used gold, honestly. I think what happened was there was a need for inflation in the 30s because we were in a depression. And I think they had a temporary period where they sort of tried to artificially promote inflation at a 59.6% rate. But that's a very brief time. That's because the Great Depression broke all rules. But that's way ahead of this unit. That's 1930s. Yes?
What was Turner's consensus?
That was the idea that because the frontier has been settled, you can't, so you're stuck in the slums, you can't go west. Remember, you were in the period where we actually watched on YouTube a little bit of the Go West video. Nobody thought they were talented.
We know our Robert Barons.
Next week. Election of 1896, money supply. Yes?
Turner's frontier is when his speech would go west.
No, his thesis was you couldn't go west anymore because the west was settled.
Okay.
Yes?
What did Lincoln stuff you'll need to do?
Political corruption. He was a muckraker.
No, like which one, like did you give us one of them?
He was the one who wrote about how in Philadelphia dead people are voting. 300 people voted in an apartment complex with only 100 people.
Is that the one with the crows over the graveyard?
Yeah, it's on the same page.
Yes. Yes.
So besides those two, you know how you gave us like seven more? You gave us like a lot of people's names. Should we know all of them?
Next week. Only know it if I gave you an example and it's a primary source. The non-primary sources, where you're going to have to write extemporaneously. Newcomers versus oldcomers, not that hard. If you can't solve that, given your family is one or the other, you have bigger problems in this test. But election of 1896, money supply, that's the big stuff. Final questions or comments?
This isn't going to be on it, right?